Tyler isn't here. What do we do? Why do we do it?
It's news to me. Welcome to It's News to Me, where the it is IT and the me is whoever it needs to be. I'm Noah Parker.
I'm Michael Trotter Lawson.
And as you heard in the intro, Tyler is no longer with us. Nah, I'm just kidding. He's not dead. He's in Miami.
Yeah, Tyler has gone to DadoCon to represent Burk this year. So, yeah, we're a man short, and this isn't really a proper episode of the podcast, but we still wanted to, we still wanted to record something. Yeah, podcaster's gonna podcast, I suppose. But that doesn't mean that I don't have a hypothetical question.
Oh boy, a new hypothetical. I forgot about these.
So, take any existing movie.
I would be Neo.
No, pick a movie to replace the entire principal cast, except for one person, with Muppets.
Oh man. Every movie ever. No, I feel like it'd have to be like my first instinct is to go to like Knives Out or Glass Onion.
Oh yeah?
Because I've seen an edit of that and it just seems like such a great idea. Also, like Muppet Avengers would be sick. But like Nick Fury's still Nick Fury. You know? That would be good.
That would be pretty funny.
I don't know if I could pick just one.
I mean, you know, my mind always tends to go to like Star Wars. I think it would be really funny if you did like A New Hope, but then Chewbacca is the one that's not a Muppet. Oh, really?
Well, I mean, he kind of already is a Muppet, you know.
That's what's so funny about it.
That would be funny.
He was like a full-size Wookiee with all
these all these little Muppets. That would be good. Gosh, I don't know.
I also think, it's kind of the reverse, but like the John Wick movies, but just John Wick is a Muppet.
Oh, just John Wick is a Muppet. Everyone else is normal. Gosh, I feel like I've never seen a movie before. What are some good movies that I've seen in the last like year? Like Oppenheimer. Who would be the remaining cast member in Oppenheimer? Albert Einstein.
Maybe Robert Downey Jr.'s character.
Oh yeah, that'd be good. The instigator.
Yeah. He's just like staring. Remember that one scene where Oppenheimer's testifying and you got Robert Downey Jr. just staring daggers at him, but
yeah.
Oppenheimer's a Muppet now.
Kermit the Frog here. I did not blow up those people. That'd be good.
Yeah. Barbie. I think if we were, if you're doing Barbie, it would have to be Ken. Ken would be the one human.
Yeah, and Miss Piggy would be Barbie.
Well, Noah.
Michael?
And why are we making a podcast?
I don't know. I mean, everyone has a podcast these days. It's a fun thing to do. It's a good way to just sit and talk with purpose. So, that's something that a lot of people don't do anymore, is sit and talk with purpose.
Yeah. I don't know, it is a good excuse for, what would normally be the three of us just having, like, some meaningful conversation.
Yeah.
Not that we don't ever have, like, meaningful conversation, here in general, but, like...
For those of you that don't know, Michael and myself have been friends for, like, 10 years, long before we worked together here at Burk. So we've had at least one or two meaningful conversations during that time.
Yeah, I mean, we've had plenty of meaningful conversations, but I think, being able to kind of record our dynamic has, I don't know, it's been good, and it's also been really good to get Tyler in there as well. He adds a great energy to the.
Yeah, and it's nice to just have the opportunity with, any given coworker to, like, sit down and just chit-chat.
Yeah.
A lot of people are busy a lot of the time, and it's hard to actually find the time to just sit and talk.
Yeah. I mean, I think, Tyler's a great fit. I think, given the opportunity, if more people were more readily available, I mean, we're very busy here, so it's hard to just find time with, especially the other engineers, but maybe nice to be able to have other people on the podcast given the opportunity too, but...
Which I think we can definitely do as we get more into it, get a better workflow, and have more consistency. We can actually set time with these people to get them on and chit-chat. And
I think it's important, as a company where especially we pride ourselves on having these kind of personal type interactions with our clients and customers. I think it's important to show kind of the human side of this company.
Yeah, I don't know, I always find it pleasant to see the more laid back dynamic of any given company. I mean, some of the most successful marketing tactics we've seen after doing this for a few years and researching a lot of different companies and stuff, a lot of the ones that stick with me the most are the ones that are just like personal and funny and relatable.
Yeah,
like Wendy's Twitter, for example.
Wendy's Twitter.
I mean, when that first started, Wendy's just started like roasting people, and everyone thought that was great, and it got so much publicity for Wendy's.
Well, yeah, I don't know. It's the kind of thing where it's a little bit different because it's not like a. I mean, that's a team of like marketing people at Wendy's trying to figure out, a way to appear, personable and things like that.
Yeah, I
think it's kind of rare that you get kind of genuine humanity out of like a corporation.
Yeah.
And I think, we do have an advantage here of still being pretty small as a company. I don't know, I think if you think about a lot of kind of corporate entities, there's not... If they even have like a public face, it's usually like, the CEO or,
paid actor.
Well, paid actors too. I mean, I think it's just, it always comes off as very ingenuine, not relatable.
Yeah.
I think that's something we're really trying to buck here,
Yeah, I agree. It's nice to have the opportunity to do this too, because I mean, a lot of companies are so just dead set on sticking to the, status quo, straightforward, get to the point, just be as effective and efficient as possible, which isn't necessarily not what we do, but, we have the opportunity to kind of put ourselves out there more and be more relatable and more personable to people. And especially with, like, you see it a lot more now than you did even, 5-10 years ago with social media and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of... it's a lot easier to, like, interact with, like, public figures and things like that. But, I think it's valuable to, have interactions... even online with people who aren't, like, public figures, like, we're public in the sense that, this is, like, a publicly published podcast and whatnot, but, like, nobody knows who we are, really. Not around, not beyond our social circle, anyway.
My dad listens to this podcast, and he knows who I am. Shout out to you, Dad.
Yeah. Mine, too. He also works here, though, so it's kind of... Yeah.
He's going to be disappointed that you didn't give him a shout out like I did my dad.
Sure. Shout out to my father, Ben Lawson. Well, we're always trying to figure out, especially, we're marketing people. And
well, we're not marketing people. We're marketing managed IT services.
Yeah. The two of us, we work in the marketing department at Burk I.T. We are the marketing department at Burk I.T., frankly. And, we're constantly trying to figure out ways that we can get kind of the Burk I.T name out there, and any ways that we can do that, especially without spending a lot of money, is
not because we're
that we
cheap.
think is very valuable. Well, I mean, we're not cheap as a company, but we spend a lot of money providing a lot of very expensive IT tools and whatnot to our clients, and paying a lot of highly experienced and skilled managers and whatnot. Not to turn this into like a sales thing, but there's a reason that when you look at our company, and frankly a lot of managed service providers, their marketing budget is like relatively low compared to other companies of like a similar size and revenue,
Yeah.
I mean, I remember coming back from, we just came back from a trip to the beach, the two of us, and on the way back, we saw like 35 signs, like billboards for, that one gas station slash convenience store.
Sparky's or something?
Yeah, Sparky's in South Carolina.
They sold, was it pecans, firecrackers, cider, ice cream,
hermit crabs,
gas,
peaches,
boiled peanuts, peaches.
And they had dedicated and clean bathrooms.
And
they had clean bathrooms.
They did not sell clean bathrooms, but they advertised clean bathrooms.
Right. I feel like they had dedicated billboards for each of those things.
Yeah.
And we've done a bit of research. We know how much that must have cost. That's a lot of money. And
yeah, but those specific billboards, in my deductions that I've made as I was driving past them, they're like permanent structures. They're not like rented billboards like we would get around here. They were like shaped signs that were built and placed.
Well, I mean, you think that they owned those billboards?
Yes, I do. Sorry.
It's probably still very expensive. I mean, arguably more expensive.
Well, not if they've
Because you need
kept them there for years.
Well, you need like permits and whatnot, and then there's like the upkeep on making sure that they, look good and stay.
Well, maybe they were
painted and whatnot. I mean, there's
maybe they've owned them for a long time and they were like grandfathered in.
Maybe.
So here's a fun fact about myself and Michael.
Oh wait, we're about to talk about News.exe.
Oh yeah. Let me do my fun fact real quick. Neither of us ever intended to go into marketing.
Yeah, I mean, that's, yeah. I was actually, when I was at ETSU, the university where we both went to, and we both studied digital media, I was, for a little while, I was studying digital media with a focus in game design, and eventually I quit because it was boring and I hated it. And I went back to my original plan, which was studying music. I went to college looking for a degree in music education because I thought I wanted to be a band director. I realized I didn't want that. That's why I switched to digital media. And I switched back and got my degree in music performance with a minor in digital media, with, at the time, the intention of going on to study law. I wanted to be a lawyer. But as I was studying for the LSAT and prepping for that, I got kind of a engineering internship here. I just eventually transitioned into kind of a marketing position because of my experience in digital media, and at some point in that process, Noah started working here. I started to enjoy my job, and I just kind of gave up on the whole law school thing just because it was very expensive and I enjoy my job. So, I figure why radically shake things up like that? Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, I also started out in music education. And then, I played hopscotch.
Well, yeah.
I went to, let's see, what was after that? It was engineering, because ETSU had like a partnership thing with Tennessee Tech.
Right, and I think it's worth mentioning that your original intention was to go to Tennessee Tech for a long time.
It was way too expensive.
Right, yeah.
And I was going to get no money to go there compared to ETSU.
I mean, you ended up going to ETSU, like, very last minute, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, up until, like, I want to say June, when school started at the end of August. It was, like, up until June, I was planning on going to Tennessee Tech. I had a roommate picked out. I had already signed up for... I think I'd already signed up for classes.
Yeah, I was fully prepared to be, very sad going into my first year. You know, I didn't think, I wasn't sure how much we'd ever even see each other again. But,
and then I changed my mind last minute, decided to go to ETSU, and lived on campus with Michael for a year.
First year, yeah.
And then I did engineering technology, which was different. I hated that. There's a lot of, like, programming. I took a CAD class that semester, though, and I really enjoyed that. I always liked CAD. Yeah. And then I did animation for a while, which was, digital media. Did that for, like, I don't know, years, 2. Then
all kind of blurs together.
Yeah. And then I realized that I really hated animation because it was really tedious, and I was like, oh, I took this editing class. I want to film things. And then for some reason I was like, I'm going to do motion graphics, which is just animation again. But my degree's called something different. So, what's wrong with me? Who could tell? But I'm here, and we're doing this podcast, and that's fun. And we get to make fun commercials, and it's great, and I love it.
Yeah, I think all that to say, we kind of knew coming into this job that, we really wanted to just take advantage of the, the skills that we got, through our education. The kind of things that, kind of set us apart here, because, I mean, obviously skill sets like ours are not uncommon for, like, a marketing agency or like a big marketing department or something like that. But the fact that we both started out as just engineering interns who just started doing marketing stuff up to the point where it just became our job. We're in a unique position where we have a lot of freedom and a lot of flexibility for us to do what we think is best. And, I think starting out, we were very much under the impression that, it would be best for us to use our skills in, like, video editing and things like that to do, a web series, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, like iCarly.
Right. Yeah, like iCarly. Then the challenge for us has always kind of been, what can we do that aligns with the company's kind of, mission of, being an IT company, an internet technology company that's, for one, going to be valuable for our clients and the people that we want to be our clients, but also be entertaining and be valuable to the general public in such a way that, we can kind of grow an audience, all while trying to do something that's, not already, completely, like, saturated,
Yeah, well, it's been very interesting because we are constantly, I don't want to say racking our brains for new ideas, but essentially we are, because we're in a very niche market.
Right.
Reaching out to a very niche audience in terms of, direct marketing to forward sales at the company.
Right.
But that's something that we're trying to do in addition to just building a name for the company that can be more beneficial to the general public.
Right. Because I think it's a situation where obviously, for anyone listening to this who doesn't know, because there's a good reason that you wouldn't necessarily, we're, as a managed services provider, as that kind of IT company, we are localized. We only serve, in terms of a business, companies within like 4-hour drive at the absolute most, really stretching the limits there. Preferably within like 2 hours, because we want to be physically close to the companies that we serve in order to be able to go on site as needed and things like that. But obviously when you're dealing with the internet, you're reaching out to a global audience, so it's kind of really doing that kind of local marketing for this kind of company has always been a challenge. So I think any kind of content that we did would have to not be so localized that we could only appeal to those people, because it's the internet. We never know who it's gonna be recommended to, or whatever algorithm blesses us with a slightly more favorable odds. I mean, we've got one random YouTube short that has 21,000 views, and if we had done something that only applied to the Northeast Tennessee / Southeast Virginia region of the United States, you're really limiting your audience there.
Yeah.
So all this to say, that's what led us to start with news.exe. It's still the best technology-centric news show on the Burk I.T. YouTube channel.
Guaranteed. It's been a while since we've uploaded one of those.
Right, and there's a couple good reasons for that. We always intended to do season breaks in the same way that normal kind of TV shows do, because we wanted to be able to take a step back and really kind of refocus and think of ways that we could improve the show and things like that. But I think what we're kind of realizing with our last season and our last few episodes is that it's really hard to do to figure out that kind of content on that kind of a consistent basis.
Yeah, because a lot of these other comparable shows, I guess, they have full teams of writers and researchers, and everything for news.exe was me and Michael.
Right.
And more Michael than me, because he wrote the scripts for that show.
Right.
We'd come up with ideas together, but then it just got to the point where it wasn't very sustainable, and it was taking up too much time compared to all the other things that we also have to do.
Right, because, we're trying to, in a sense, this kind of content creation stuff that we're doing is very much secondary to arguably the more important aspects of creating actual marketing materials, like the commercials and the
training videos
and the
mail
handouts and all of these things. Those are arguably more important than trying to do a long form web series. But the fact of the matter is that the web series is just as much work, if not more, than anything else that we were doing. And eventually we started. I suppose I should back up a little bit for anyone who hadn't seen news.exe. We would start the show off with talking about these recent technology news stories, where Noah and I would just take turns reading off these stories, these pre-written paragraphs about technology news stories. And then the second we have a very random change every episode middle. We always called it the middle bit.
But on the show, it was always called something different. There
right.
was Noah's short films and Michael's monologues and Jared's film review.
Honestly, I think that's definitely the aspect of news.exe that I'm going to miss the most.
Yeah, me too.
Because, it was a good creative outlet for us. But the second half of the show was always more kind of long-form informational content about, some topic. We did 3D printing.
Right to Repair was the
very first one.
Flagship episode.
Artificial intelligence, quantum computing.
Deepfakes.
Yeah. And we just kind of realized that we were struggling to come up with things that were both relevant And
relevant in terms of the company and relevant in terms of the times.
Right. Which is very difficult when you're stuck in this kind of technology barrel of not just...
I mean, yeah, because we weren't really doing, like, consumer technology, like the new iPhone or, you know.
Right. We were trying to stick to, like, business technology because we are a business-to-business company.
Yeah.
But it also needed to be the kind of thing that we thought was interesting enough to fill up, like, a 10-minute segment. And
which, you know, 10 minutes may not seem like a lot of time. Go out there and try to make your own technology-centric news show and get back to us.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it was always, like, you know, like a page and a half of, you know, scripted content. And it takes a lot of time to try and, you know, research these topics and things like that.
And if you've listened to the podcast and know the premise behind the podcast, the one that we're on right now that you're listening to, you'll know that Michael and myself, while we are very technically capable, we are not the most knowledgeable in terms of, you know, the back end of how everything works, which is why Tyler is typically on the podcast with us. So in making News.exe, big section of time that was dedicated to making sure we understood the topics we were talking about and making sure they were written appropriately and not just based on one random article that we found.
Right. I mean, you know, it was difficult because we very much had to teach ourselves about the topics before we could feel at all qualified to talk on it. And, you know, frankly, at the end of the day, we just weren't seeing much in terms of, you know, like, meaningful returns from the show as well. You know, that also made it, you know, it's hard to feel the motivation to keep going when you're also only getting, like, you know, 10 to 20 views on these videos, you know? 10 to 20 views on these videos that took us, like, hours upon hours to, you know, write, record, edit.
And not to say that, you know, our motivation behind doing these things is to get views.
Right, I mean, it's more than that, but it's also like...
We felt that we were at a point where we were putting way too much effort into what it was for what us and anyone else was getting out of it.
Yeah, and the company for that matter.
Yeah.
You know, I mean...
You know, at the end of the day, we still work here and have other duties to fulfill, and... Right.
And I mean, I think we still think that there's value in putting out technology news content. That's why, you know, while we were still doing News.exe, we started doing what are essentially News.exe shorts, you know, where we basically do the
first half of News.exe.
Right. I mean, they're just individual stories that, you know, when we can, come out 3 times a week.
Yeah, we're still doing News.exe, just without a main story and without a middle bit.
Right. But it's also, it's easy, the biggest challenge has always been trying to figure out something that we can do consistently.
Yeah.
You know, something that there will always be content for. And there's always going to be news. And... You know, we still think that there's value in focusing on those technology news stories that might get buried a bit when you look at, you know, mainstream news sources like, you know, the Times or CNN, Fox News, things like that. You know, things that, you know, they might talk about, but there's a lot of, you know, security vulnerabilities and things like that that just aren't very, they're not going to make the front page of...
Yeah. Not mainstream per se.
Right, but obviously people still need to know.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, why we still make those shorts. And this podcast is kind of, sort of, an extension of those shorts.
Yeah, I mean, they supplement each other. We take the content of the shorts that we've made over the past couple weeks, and that influences what we talk about on the podcast.
Right. You know, we essentially take our... we take our top 3 stories from the last, you know, intermittent time between the last podcast episode, and we kind of, you know, delve into those stories a bit more. Because, you know, we think that there's, you know, value in giving more insight there, especially with Tyler here, since he's, you know, he has the technical experience and the, you know, the IT knowledge to give more background and more of why these stories mattered, because we do still think that they matter.
Yeah.
That's why we
kept
continue to do this. Yeah. And I think, I guess we're kind of burying the lead a little bit. We're stopping News.exe. The season break is not a season break; it's a series break.
Unless I can convince Michael to let me do an episode of Closure.
Right. Yeah. We're.
But don't hold your breath.
Yeah. We're waffling on whether to come back for one last hurrah, but it's it's tricky because it was such a I don't know. I have a special place in my heart for News.exe is kind of the first kind of real content that we did here, besides like some commercial stuff. But
man, confession time for all you listeners out there. I always kind of a little bit hated News.exe.
Right. Not a confession to me. I already knew.
Michael already knew this. I personally wasn't very involved. I mean, I didn't write for it at all, except for the jokes I made. I would write my own jokes 99% of the time, unless I just couldn't think of something and I'd get some help. But it felt more of a task to me than something that was actually enjoyable and fun.
Right. And I mean, of course, we're doing a job here, but at the same time, no one told us to do News.exe. We brought that on ourselves, and at the end of the day, when
it's hard to do something that takes so much creativity and time that you're not actually invested in.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I think I was always invested in News.exe. Up until the end. And I think we both put a lot into the show.
Well, I mean, I'm not to say
energy and whatnot. I know you're not saying that like you just.
It was the worst experience of my life. No, that's not the case. I did enjoy it. I had some great times filming it. We got a lot of good content out of it. It was always fun to sit. Mostly always fun to sit and film it. Yeah.
I think it also, in terms of like, the two of us and our dynamic. We really didn't get to have much of that on News.exe because the entire thing was scripted.
Yeah, there was really no organic interaction between me and Michael unless it was off. I mean, it was on camera, but most of it got cut out because that wasn't the format of the show.
Right. I mean, the entire thing was scripted, and so
yeah,
there was no opportunity for the two of us to, interact as, co-hosts or friends, and it felt very.
It felt very us, but very disconnected in a way.
Right. And I think that's kind of why we wanted to do this podcast in such a way that we could, interact as kind of our non-scripted, kind of genuine selves, Yeah. Give the audience a taste of the Michael Noah experience,
Yeah, that's don't pay for this though. It's like a bad county fair attraction. The Michael and Noah experience. You just sit there and get mildly disappointed and chuckle every couple minutes.
Oh gosh. Come on. I think I am already more proud of like these first like 3 proper episodes of the podcast as opposed to like 90% of the episodes of News.exe.
I personally love the podcast.
I love the podcast too. I think this podcast is just, it's sustainable. It's enjoyable for us to make. It's easier for us to make.
Yeah, and, I mean we don't have to spend an entire week scripting this. We just sit down. We have our articles already done because we've already made those shorts.
Right.
We talk for like an hour or so, and then I edit it, and it's done. And it's easy, and we just upload it, and it's out there. It's nice.
Right.
Well, it's very nice not to have to worry about video for once, because, I mean, the biggest thing about video is you gotta line up all the audio, and usually we do green screen stuff. That takes like a whole nother step, and I don't know if y'all know Adobe, but my goodness, Adobe can be the most, just any Adobe product can be the most frustrating thing to use in the world.
Yeah. And I mean, maybe at some point we might end up, looking into making a video version of the podcast once we're a little bit more settled in terms of, we're a lot of things are moving around here at the office, and we're kind of in a bit of limbo at the moment. But I think,
and not like the fun party kind of limbo.
right,
Yeah.
right. And I like the video game limbo either. It's not.
Yeah. It's kind of like that. It's like purgatory.
Yeah, but that was
Working here is not purgatory. I just want to clarify.
We need to cut all this out.
Yeah, I think we should.
Yeah. What else is there to say? Yeah.
We talked about why we're doing what we're doing. We talked about what we're doing. And we talked about Tyler not being here.
I'm going to talk about what's next.
What is next?
I think we're still looking... We still want to... we don't want to give up on YouTube, I guess, is the one thing.
Yeah, I mean...
I guess we haven't... we've been creating shorts this whole time, but we're not transitioning into shorts-only content or training-only content. These podcasts are now going up on YouTube. We did that starting with the last episode. I mean, all 3 of the episodes are up there now. But I think we want to figure out another kind of video content, because we still think there's value there, and we still think we can do more entertaining and informative content on YouTube and in video. But I think for the time being, we're very happy with the podcast. We're going to continue doing the podcast for,
the foreseeable future.
And I think just, stay tuned for whatever comes next. I think we're excited about the present. We're excited about the future.
I like the direction we're heading.
Yeah. I think we feel a lot better about kind of the state of things working on this podcast than we ever did with the outlook of, like, news.exe.
Yeah. I mean, with news.exe, we never really... I don't know. I don't feel like we had any, like, great goals or aspirations. We were just like, this will be good.
Right. I think it very quickly became a thing with news.exe where we were just kind of treading water. Everything became very last minute towards the end. You kept pushing back the day that the script was supposed to be finished and the day that we would film, and editing very much became a all day Thursday and Thursday night affair.
Yeah, it became very just...
I mean, like you said before, it became a chore.
Yeah.
For me too, honestly. I mean,
well, I'm all for, like, doing my job and working to work and, doing whatever needs to be done. But like we said, that wasn't something that needed to be done, and it was just something that we were throwing extra on top of ourselves just to have something out there. Yeah.
And I think, there was always value in doing this kind of supplemental kind of marketing. And I think it's just a matter of figuring out what is, the best bang for your buck, because time is money, as they say. More time we're spending on this is less time that we could be spending on, the other aspects of our job, and it's an investment, like all things. Yeah. And I think this investment's gonna pay off.
I think they should remake The Princess Bride with Muppets.
Who's the human?
Andre the Giant.
Andre the Giant's a good choice.
Yeah.
I think.
I feel like it's...
Also, Inigo Montoya would be really good.
Yeah.
As the human, just dueling with, Kermit as the.
You can't have Kermit be. Oh well, I guess.
Kermit's not the six-fingered man. He'd be the.
Yeah. Wesley.
Wesley. Yeah. I was trying to think of what they called Wesley in, like, the start of the movie before you know that it's Wesley.
Him. I don't know. He's just the masked man.
He might just be the masked man.
I can't remember.
No, he's the Dread Pirate Roberts.
The Dread Pirate Roberts.
Man. Princess Bride's a really good movie.
It was a good movie.
It's a classic. I think there's something just really entertaining in theory about, like, like a Muppet
dueling very competently with a human.
Yeah, that would be good.
You're very skilled, but what you don't realize is that I'm right-handed.
Is that your Kermit impression?
Not very good.
That was a good one. No,
I tried.
That's pretty good. Or, there's always the whole Taken thing. I have a very particular set of skills.
Well, I really tried to do a Kermit impression before.
I don't know who you are, but I will find you, and I will kill you.
Thank you for listening to It's News to Me. If you enjoyed this content and would like to see or hear more like it, check out our YouTube channel at youtube.com/@BurkIT or go to our website at burkitc.com. Our theme music is Big City Lights by Up in the Air. Be sure to come back in 2 weeks to hear more from me, Noah, and Tyler. And in the meantime, keep your data secure and your mind sharp.
Like, if I walked into a room and there were 2 pits of acid and 2 levers on the ground and I had to pull one of those levers and this is very out there, trust me, hanging above these pits of acid was news.exe and it's news to me.
Well, yeah.
I would pull the news.exe lever 50 times.